Council for Monday, June 10th, 2024 to order. The City of Dawson Creek acknowledges that we are privileged to live and work on Treaty 8 territory in the traditional home of the Cree, Danazé, Saulteaux, Sicanee, and Slavey First Nations. We value the Métis peoples that live and gather here. We commit to upholding the respectful relationships these nations have built with the land, and we acknowledge our responsibility to carry that forward today and into the future. First order of business is 2 delegations. 2.1, we have Charleigh Rudy, Executive Director, South Peace Division of Family Practice, in attendance regarding the proclamation to declare June 17th, 2024 as Hope Air Day in Dawson Creek. So welcome, Charleigh. You can come. Yeah, you can come up, and I will read this out to you. Whereas access to healthcare is a fundamental right for all citizens, regardless of their geographical location. Whereas Hope Air, a charitable organization, has been tirelessly dedicated to providing access to healthcare by facilitating free flights. This is where I was questioning if I could pull this off today. Free flights and other services for patients living in rural and underserved communities in British Columbia, ensuring that they can receive vital medical treatment regardless of distance or financial means. Whereas Hope Air has been instrumental in bridging the gap between smaller communities and hospitals far from home, reducing the barriers that often prevent individuals from reaching medical care. Whereas the impact of Hope Air extends beyond the individual patients served, positively affecting families, communities, and the healthcare system as a whole by promoting wellness and reducing the burden of untreated medical conditions. And whereas the compassion, dedication, and commitment demonstrated by Hope Air and its volunteers embody the spirit of community and the belief in the inherent value of every individual's well-being. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim June 17th, 2024 as Hope Air Day in Canada. So, yeah. So, I just sign this. And then if you wanted to give a few words, there you go.
Thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge and thank everyone for taking the time to think about Hope Air. We all live rurally. Many of us probably have had to travel for healthcare ourselves or have had family or friends travel for healthcare. And it certainly can be costly because we often have to go to Prince George or Vancouver for services that are specialized. So this service has been instrumental for our community in providing patients the ability to have their accommodation covered or flights covered, in addition to paying for their significant other or companion to come alongside them. I was able to connect with 2 patients locally who have experienced using Hope Air, and they just really wanted me to note to each of you the importance of this service and that it is something that they have leaned heavily on during their time of sickness and will continue to use and are thankful for this service. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's excellent. I was just even checking on their website too. I was looking at it and just to see like all the stories and all the people that it's helped. It's such a critical thing. And we have a seniors roundtable meeting that we meet with, and Hope Air gets brought up in there a lot, and that it's utilized a lot. So a great service for our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I get a picture here. We almost have matching shirts there, Charleigh.
We planned
Perfect.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Thanks, Charleigh.
We usually clap.
Oh.
We didn't. Nobody did. I was going to start it.
Well, we did clap at the beginning.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Charleigh. Our next order of business is 2.2. We have Wayne Plenert, Peacebuilder Mediation, in attendance regarding Northern BC work camps and family project. So, welcome, Wayne.
Thank you very much.
You can just go right to that delegation there, and then if you push that button, Wayne, I will turn the mic on. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, there you go. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's I do enjoy the times that I've been privileged enough to present to this group, so it's nice. So what I'm here for today is the idea of work camps. Work camps are a major part of how our town works, and work camps have been researched fairly extensively over the last number of years. The one area that has not been researched is on how they work with families and the impact families have on families when one person in the family works in a work camp. As I think you all know, Dawson Creek has both people who go away from here to work in work camps and people who come to Dawson Creek as part of work camps. So we have both. I've been involved with family justice reform now for, it's got to be 20 years. And one of the things that we've been doing over this time is trying to figure out a way in which we can find effective ways of redoing the family justice system. It's clearly a failed model because it assumes, first of all, that you can sort family justice questions out with a business model, which doesn't work at all. It assumes as well that courts are appropriate, which doesn't work as well. So it's really a poor model. What BC and Alberta are both trying to do is develop a different way of dealing with family justice. I was working on this. I came to council some years ago with Councillor Business, and we tried to explain how the impact of this worked on children and asked for support. That didn't work, and other parts of what we had then tragically fell apart because it was just really unfortunate. You know, the president of the college passing away right after he got enthused about our project, that kind of thing. This time, I've been working with Northern Development Initiative Trust. The mayor sits on the rack for that, and also with Northern Health and with the University of Northern British Columbia. So those organizations are looking at something, what can they do in this area? The person from UNBC actually has done a lot of research in this area, and I think he's keen on something more theoretical. I'm not. I want something practical. I want something that actually makes a difference. I don't know if you have it in front of you or if it'll be on the screen, but I prepared the GEALS framework to show what I have in mind. So this basically is a document that shows how you can transition a community, organization, whatever, on a sustainability point of view. Do you have it in front of you or no?
Yep.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
We have it in
It should be up here right away, Wayne, so.
Okay.
The second attachment. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that shows a good part of it. The part I want to focus on is hidden underneath. There we go, the niche innovation. So what we have in a community like ours, there's a landscape. There's the cultures, the values, the identity, the things that make us work as a community. Then we have you, that's the regime. That's the way in which things are organized. So you've got structures, technology, industry, and all those sorts of things. And then what's the best way to change? And this suggests it's by little innovations, one after another. And if you can align them all, they actually will change the regime and can change the landscape. And obviously the regime and landscape can influence them. What we're looking for here is projects that start with the idea of family camps and how can we use them as ways of having niche innovations that reshape how we look at basically a major issue in our community, which is it's just not, there's so many challenges in our community in so many different ways. So I was looking at what's something that's not expensive, something that is effective, something that actually can work. And so that's what this idea is. I have two ways of explaining how this might work here. When I was putting this little talk together, the city was just doing the city cleanup, okay? And it occurred to me that in my neighborhood, there are a lot of people who work in camps. I am sure not a one of them volunteered to help with the city cleanup. Why? Well, it's not organized around people who work in camps. right? There's a one-day thing, you have to know what's going on, all this other stuff. If you start, if the city people who organized that started thinking, how can we involve those people as volunteers? How can we change the way in which our thing works so that those all of those people in work camps get enthused about being volunteers, coming out with their kids and cleaning up and so forth? For example, could have it on 4 separate days, right? Smaller programs, but 4 separate days so that you catch when they're out of camp. If they're away 3 and in for 1, those kinds of really simple changes could make a huge difference in getting people involved. Another example on work camps is the Tumble Ridge experience. What happened with Tumble Ridge is a lot of people from Eastern Canada, especially Newfoundland, came and helped work there. They were in camps there 3 weeks in, 1 week out, I think, for most of them. And what I learned is that Newfoundland itself was really excited about that because they had an order and stability in the 3-week, 1 week thing that you didn't get with fishing, and you didn't get with the other stuff that generated income there. They found a way to make it much more stable for their community, knowing that you had the 3 and 1. So if we start thinking differently about how we work around the people in our community, we can make a big difference. So I have NDIT is involved in this. I have Northern Health involved at the present time. They have a research group that want to help, and this professor at UNBC is also keen. So we have those people who want to work. What I'm asking for is they want a project to start in, a place to start in, and I have suggested that Dawson Creek might be that. It's entirely your call, of course, but if that happens, I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for anything except, at this point, your agreement that it makes sense and allowing the Chief Administrative Officer to be involved in seeing how this can work and what can be done. So a specific commitment, but nothing at all specific in terms of details. We're not at the stage where we can do that in any way at this point. And I'd be delighted to answer questions.
Oh, thank you very much, Wayne. I appreciate you coming in, and I will open it up to council first for questions. Councillor Earl. Councillor Earl.
Monday. Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Wayne. Good to see you, as always. Very interesting proposition. That's, tentatively, I'd be in support of this. I'm curious, off the top of my head, a couple things that occur to me is I know we do, being an industrial community, have an increasingly mobile workforce. I would still imagine we're very much a net taker of fly-in, fly-out workers, more so than we are a net exporter of it. But yeah, obviously to anybody who's involved in matters of civics, it's obvious that there is a cost associated with having, people either away from their families for weeks on end, or having a bunch of people in town who are away from their families for weeks on end, and the implications for, some of the lifestyle stuff that goes along with that, some of the opportunities for community engagement, for people to stay anchored to the community. And I think it's important as we appreciate the necessity of industry and the many benefits it brings to our community. We also understand what the costs are that go along with it, and look at ways to mitigate those costs. So very interested. Is this, do you have, in addition to the documentation you provided here, anything from NDIT or Northern Health indicating kind of what the scope of research is to start with, or or is this just in very kind of embryonic stages?
I wouldn't say it's very embryonic. It's not in a written form. We had a meeting scheduled a month ago. We have another meeting coming up in a month and a half. So we're at the stage of talking about those kinds of things. What they're looking for right now is communities to commit to. They want at least 2 communities to start with in the northern part of the province. So we would be one of 2, as I see it. I was hoping it would be 4, but it looks like one of two at this point.
Okay. And I mean, obviously, this dovetails with your work with respect to family courts as well, I'd imagine, and how...
Okay, I'll say this about that. I am totally retired from family court. I am mostly retired from mediation, although I have, saying that I'm going to Vancouver to do a major one in a week and a half. What I'm doing mostly is mental health hearings, so that's what I do now. In terms of how this works, over the course of my 40 years of mediating here, I finished by mediating where we were involved with the grandchildren and sometimes even great-grandchildren of the people I was mediating when I started. That is, and it's interesting how often people would say, yeah, I work in a camp, they're separated, so they're mediating. I'm working in a camp, my dad worked in a camp, we didn't have a good relationship, right? So that is exactly why I'm so keen on this, is that we've got to work these problems way further upstream than when you get to a mediation or even court.
Okay. Well, thank you once again for your time here, and I'll turn the floor over to my colleagues.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Earl just brought up one point when he was talking there. Wayne, obviously, I appreciate you coming in and all your insight in all of this. And but talking about like the workforce that are here working, like, do you envision like there being this helping for folks that are, you know, maybe don't live in Dawson Creek but are here working as well? Because that would be another thing where mental health and wellness, you know, that's one of the number one causes is workers, single male workers, right, away. So if they were in a community like Dawson Creek and we geared things towards, you know, them, like it could help, like, as well. Do you see that being part of this, or?
That's the kind of details I want the people down, you know, the professor and the people at Northern Health to work on, because I like the idea a lot. I think that is really important that we provide it both ways. Having said that, I don't know what the resources will be. I don't know what the, I mean, that's where I have to be fuzzy, and I'm intentionally fuzzy on those kinds of details.
Fair enough. Councillor Parslow.
The background, I love, I have a fond history with Wayne. So I'm going to correct something, Wayne, in your presentation. My name is spelt with a W.
Oh, no.
That is a Parslow, L-O-E, is a name of surname certainly for many people, but I spell mine with a W, so I'm disappointed that I have to tell you.
Well, I know. You are entitled to an abject apology.
I think, you know, in response to the questions my colleague Councillor Earl, the last comments you made really, I think, captured it. We have, as you correctly stated, you know, we have a lot of people who for many generations, work camps have been a big part of their life, right? And this council, I don't know how, this council is every council is different. You made reference to the tragedy at the college with the loss of their president, but I mean, I'm still overwhelmed at the enthusiastic response when the president looked at his vice presidents and said, "This is what we're looking for. This was all around adverse childhood experiences, trauma, and so on." And so I think really this is all, if you like, a refinement or a different approach to dealing with the impact of trauma on people's lives and its long-term effects and so on. So yes, it would be good to be involved in an exploration of this. I mean, the fact that it's university, it's Northern Health. Have you actually got NDIT funding, or is there?
No, I do not have NDIT funding. What I have, though, is I have Joel interested.
Well, that's important.
He sits on our committee, so.
Oh, yes, he's an influential person. Yeah. This is really all around quality of life. And I think we have, we should try to enable that, because its impact, I see its impact almost every day in the other work that I do in the community. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Okay. If I could say one thing more, which is that BC and Alberta have used two different models. So I'm involved in the BC model here, where we try to do different projects and so forth. Alberta has chosen a community to try to reform and has focused very intensely on getting one community to stop thinking of court as the place for family problems. They only do legal problems. Start thinking about how to reform the RCMP, the education system, the support systems, the child protection system. And the community they have chosen and have worked on now for, I think, 2 or 3 years is Grand Prairie. So I've been connecting with them fairly regularly to see how it goes. If somebody would like information on what they've done, the person, one of the leads there is Queen's Bench Justice Jerky, whose cousin actually used to live in Dawson, built houses here and worked at the college. But anyways, he's written an extraordinarily good paper about what they're doing. So if anyone wants to follow up on that, I'd be delighted to provide that information.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Earl?
Thank you. Because you mentioned it, and have you had any communication with School District 59 with respect to this initiative, as we're talking about the intergenerational kind of knock-along impacts of these lifestyles and how they impact people? Is that a conversation you've had yet?
I've had 2 conversations with them years ago about this sort of thing. They've changed as faster than this council has, it seems to me, in terms of the people that I was talking with. So I have not talked to the senior leaders there for a time. I'm starting with the city. If the city's enthused, I don't know which other groups will fall in and join this. I'm hoping that they will. I'm hoping some of the other major players in town will as well. But I'm starting with here, so that's
okay.
That's why it's vague, actually.
Well, we were invited, myself, the mayor, and Councillor McDonald were invited a couple months ago, and Kevin was there as well, to the School District 59's strategic planning session. And based on some of the conversations I had and some of the information presented, I think there was a recognition that there are significant systemic barriers that are impeding the success of kids in the community, and it might be of interest to them to understand how this particular aspect might be contributing to that. So it'd be worth circling back around with them, I think.
I like that. Thank you. I'll take that.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Perfect. Well, thank you, Wayne. I guess just to clarify, like, I understand what the ask is for the city. Do you need anything, like, later on when we bring this back and go through it, if we all, agree on moving forward, do you need something from the city? Like, do you need a letter, or is it just
I wouldn't mind a letter saying that you support the idea.
Okay.
That's all. Nothing more specific than that, but that the city supports the idea that I can then show these people down south, and if it goes to NDIT or some other organization for funding, I'd like something in writing, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, thank you very much, Wayne, for coming in. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, our next order of business is 2.3. We have Greg Dueck and Don Pettit, Peace Energy Cooperative, and Lukas Armstrong, Stand Architecture, in attendance regarding solar energy options in public spaces. So, good morning, Greg and Don.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Assuming Lukas is dialing in, or is
He's on standby on Zoom.
Is he? Okay. Can you hear me, Lukas?
I am here. I can hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, you bet. Good morning.
Perfect.
Okay.
If it matters, I'm not able to see the video feed if there was one, but through the Zoom meeting.
Shouldn't matter too much to get rolling here, I guess.
Yeah, not at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Continue.
go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'll just do a little introduction. So I'm Don Pettit, Executive Director of Peace Energy Cooperative. How's the microphone? Is it working?
Yeah, that's
okay,
good.
we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, thanks very much for this opportunity. This is presenting the second part of our solarized Dawson Creek project report. We got about a 15-20 minute presentation here where we'll run through everything we've been doing and Greg's latest research on large solar for the municipality. Then we understand there will be a question and answer period afterwards, up to a total of an hour, or including our presentation. So much thanks for that extra time. We'll be needing it. We've got a lot to go through here today. And I just want to say, I can't really stress enough to congratulate the city and staff just to have this remarkable vision to give Peace Energy Co-op the mandate to have a very close look at these ideas around solarizing Dawson Creek. Working on this over the last year, which surprised me the other day when I found out we'd actually been talking about this for a year and working on it. We've met with a lot of individual groups, Farmers Market Society, Art Society, and many individuals in informal discussions. And I just want to say we've received nothing but extremely positive responses to some of these ideas, all of these ideas, really. We've heard a lot of genuine excitement and enthusiasm about what we're about to cover today. So we've been talking to a lot of people, and it seems really positive. So our first report in April covered the community benefits of uses of public solar energy. That's energy that would be visible to visitors, tourists, residents of Dawson Creek, and positioning ourselves as a progressive, forward-looking community. That included the very exciting concept of a community hub. That would be a community gathering place. We got some space? Oh, technical difficulties?
Technical difficulties.
We have a presentation here, I'm pretty sure.
We got it on our screens too.
Do you?
So,
oh,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just carry on then while we try to get it up on the big screen. That community hub would be a permanent home for the farmers market, a multicultural and artistic venue that would also provide inexpensive solar electricity to empower that entire NER park site. If it was placed there, we'll have to see where it might be placed. Greg's presentation, oh good, we're up and running. Next slide. Okay. Greg's presentation today will review all aspects of our solarized Dawson Creek study, but he will be focusing on the research for large solar arrays like the one shown on the screen, for city facilities that can save the city a bunch of money. And I would just as a part of our introduction here, also just remind Council that Peace Energy Cooperative is a local organization. We all live here in Dawson Creek. We're totally capable of solarizing the city, and we want to see our city prosper. We want to see our city as an outstanding community that's leading the way into the 21st century. We want to impress visitors, and we want to keep, attract, and hold new residents. That's because we live here and want to see it work. So just a reminder that we can do this. We are local, and it's to our benefit to see some of this happen too. I'll pass this on to Greg.
Thanks very much for this morning. My name is Greg Dueck. I'm the solar designer with Peace Energy Co-op. So Don and I are joined today by architect Lukas Armstrong of Stand Architecture. We've been working with him remotely from Nelson, BC, and he's joining us today to answer some questions later as well. We have 4 recommended asks as far as the council goes. We'll detail throughout this presentation, but just a quick review. Number 1, continue our work to finalize a 2-year solarized Dawson Creek plan for 12 suggested municipal locations. Number 2, commission the study to determine the maximum size solar array that can be put on the South Peace Multiplex as a large load displacement project. That's a different kind of project. To reduce electrical bills as much as possible. Number 3, commission a feasibility study with public consultation for the Solar Community Hub in preparation for grant applications. And number 4, continue our work to finalize research on design and potential locations for public solar in high visibility public spaces such as solar trees and EV charging stations. So why invest in solar? In simple terms, when you add solar to a building and you protect the ratepayers from BC Hydro rate increases over the long term, you save money by producing your own power. And you can see in this graph with a modest rate increase of 5% per year, electricity rates that are around 12 cents per kilowatt hour right now will increase by over 400% to around 50 cents per kilowatt hour in 30 years. This means that solar power actually becomes more valuable over time. And you also have CO2 savings as well. As added benefits, going solar for our city shows climate leadership, not only to our community, but also to the many visitors we have each year, and clearly differentiates us from surrounding communities, attracting and holding new permanent residents. As an example, here we see the District of Hudson's Hope Public Works building. They will have no power bills for the next 25 years or more because it generates more than enough power with this solar array, and that's what we mean by net zero. Each solar array is custom designed for each location with consideration for the amount of power used, the rate paid for that power, the available space for a solar array, the electrical and building structural capacities, the BC Hydro net meter policy, and the budget. So all of those go together to find the best options. Solar is a mature technology with very low maintenance and generous warranties of up to 25 years on inverters and 30 years on solar panels. Remote monitoring allows us to remotely see every solar panel in every solar array and identify any on-site maintenance needed, with the goal to consistently maximize your solar power production and value. Peace Energy currently does this for the District of Hudson's Hope. The remote monitoring and on-site maintenance equates to around $5,000 per year as a cost to the district, while their solar investments save around $70,000 per year on their electrical bills. Dawson Creek should plan to include an operations and maintenance contract for your solar systems as well, so you can get the most benefit over time. So we reviewed over 70 City BC Hydro accounts and selected the top 12 options shown in the following slides. Our criteria for choosing these sites include best financial return on investment and ease of construction, as well as many other considerations. These sites all comply with the BC net meter policy, which limits the maximum size for the solar systems to approximately 100 kilowatts, with each site being custom designed. Everything in the following slides can be completed in 2 years at around $1 million per year and will be a very significant step to solarize Dawson Creek. With a total cost less than $2 million, the city will save an estimated $114,000 per year, or a total of $7.6 million over the next 30 years. Average return on investment is about 6% in year 1, which of course increases over time as the rates go up, and you have an estimated simple payback time of around 14 years. So just going through the examples here, we have the Dawson Creek Art Gallery with about 30 kilowatts of solar split over 3 roof areas for a net zero system, saving around $4,400 per year. From what we've seen, there are also potential grants available to solarize the art gallery. We can install around 280 kilowatts of solar split across the downtown arena complex roof areas. Each building would have a separate solar array for that metered account. The curling club would be 100% net zero, the Memorial Arena 13% net zero, and the Kin Arena 37% net zero, for a total savings of roughly $40,000 per year. At the airport, we propose to install 155 kilowatts in total, spread over 3 airport building roof areas, including the maintenance building and mechanical shops as 100% net zero designs, and the airport terminal building with 60% net zero design, for a total savings of around $20,000 per year. With a 120 kilowatt array split between the RV Sandy Dump at 87 kilowatts and the Fairgrounds Water Sales 33 kilowatts, both would receive a 100% net zero goal and save the city around $19,000 per year in total. A ground-mounted array of just 52 kilowatts would 100% net zero the Alaska Highway Water Sales account, which would save around $8,400 per year. A Park Hill Water Reservoir 100% net zero system would comprise a 66 kilowatt ground-mounted solar array, saving around $10,700 per year. And finally, the Loran booster and reservoir would need just 68 kilowatts with a simple ground-mounted array for 100% net zero and would save around $11,000 per year. So in summary, after the 2-year solarized Dawson Creek plan is complete, you'll have 880 kilowatts of solar on 12 municipal facilities, saving $114,000 per year, with an estimated 30-year total savings $7.6 million. These solar systems also displace a total of 8.4 million kilograms of CO2 equivalent over those 30 years. There's a lot of data in what I did. So I've covered, some high points here, but in effect, this table is included for reference and shows the data we used to determine the city's best 12 sites. We've made some assumptions, of course, about the suitability for each location based on structural and electrical capacities. These are to be confirmed with the final designs for the final investment decision in a 2025 budget we propose. We'd be happy to go through this in more detail at the end of this presentation if you like, and of course with staff otherwise. Previous slides for the 12 best solar options are for projects that comply with BC's net meter program policy limiting the size to roughly 100 kilowatts. The South Peace Multiplex is your biggest single electrical user, using roughly $200,000 per year in power. With a much larger 1 megawatt solar array, we can cut this annual cost in half. This would be defined as a load displacement project, which would require a special study to fine-tune the exact size, cost, and savings. This study would also include evaluation of the structural and electrical capacities in order to finalize the design. And a quote for this work can be supplied once the scope of work has been defined. So those previous slides are excellent. They're savings, power savings, money savings. We believe solar can be more than an investment to reduce your power bills. Solarized Dawson Creek overall is a community legacy project that shows off Dawson Creek as unique, forward-thinking, and shows that we invest in our community. However, as you've seen, many of these solar arrays may not even be visible to the public. These projects are different. Public solar refers to options that we feel provide high-impact, high-profile projects that enhance the community for residents and visitors alike and normalize solar in the community. Solar trees have outstanding visual presence and are a useful public amenity that can be placed almost anywhere. They provide a unique meeting space, shade, and possibly power to charge electronics. We have approached several local steel fabricators who can build solar trees in our region. And although the focus of solar trees is more about public interaction, they will also produce power to reduce operating costs. Here are some potential locations for solar trees, starting with the NAR Park and Museum and Art Gallery. This complex is a prime location for interactive public solar amenities. Other locations might include the walking path at the library, the Ovintiv main entrance, the airport terminal, the Pioneer and RV Park, as well as the new Spray Park, and of course, City Hall for staff and visitors. These solar trees will fulfill the goals of outstanding beautification and will pay for themselves over time with solar electricity. Since solar trees incorporate lighting, funds from the BC Infrastructure Grant can be used, and other grants for downtown beautification and revitalization may be available. Another unique public solar opportunity is to add freestanding solar canopies for protection over EV charging spaces, as well as shelters. As well as shelters for other public spaces. And again, these also pay for themselves with power production over time. You may recall being introduced to this solar community hub concept in the previous Solarized Dawson Creek presentation by Lukas and Dawn at your April council meeting. The solar community hub would be a multi-purpose, multi-season community gathering space that generates more than enough power for itself and the surrounding buildings. The community hub would be a largely untempered space to help keep construction costs and operating costs down. To determine its best uses and location will require a public consultation study, which also will provide the information needed for grant applications. We're merely proposing these preliminary images and further information to start the conversation. There's lots of work to do yet. Potential uses might include a permanent shelter for the farmers market with power, lights, and washrooms, etc., and as a core attraction for downtown revitalization. A major highly visible tourist attraction, a space that could be rented for community functions, etc., a unique cultural gathering space for local residents. Further uses, of course, to be determined through the public consultation and feasibility study. There are a number of grants that may support this project, and you'll see that we have 2 asks in this regard. First, to undertake the study to consult with the community and define what this project should be and where it could be located. And 2, once we have that plan from the study, that information can be used to search for financial support and grant funding. Stand Architecture and Peace Energy Cooperative would work with city staff to provide the content needed for successful grant applications. When we had a look at the documents the city already has, a review of the existing city planning documents shows that there are many references across multiple documents showing support for a community hub type of project. As an example, from the Parks and Rec Cultural Master Plan that's shown in bold in this slide, quote, "It is recommended that the city develop a formal gathering space, ideally in the downtown precinct, that allows for special events and year-round programming options. Allocate approximately $2.4 million for this new amenity over a 3-year period," unquote. So while we're doing our work, we have this grand vision. And this is just, again, throwing it out there for information. The grand vision of what we're calling the Dawson Creek Cultural Campus. This expanded vision for the entire NAR Park area would be an outstanding community and tourism center and a gateway to the downtown core. From left to right, Dawson Creek Tourism moves into the log building. Number 2, NAR Museum has more space for displays and tourist interaction, and the park with some solar trees becomes an outdoor public space. 3, the art gallery becomes much more of a focal point with increased traffic and gift sales. And 4, oops, sorry about that. 4, the Solar Community Hub provides a permanent home for the farmers market, multi-season cultural and artistic events, and year-round community gathering place. This entire complex would be completely powered by the solar electricity generated on the roof of the Solar Community Hub, reducing operating costs of this visionary cultural campus. Just to throw it out there for consideration, a P3 or public-private partnership would be an arrangement with the city where Peace Energy Co-op would invest in all or part of one or more solar systems. Potential benefits to the city would include lower or no upfront capital expense, no maintenance costs, and overall reduced power bills from what you are currently paying. The benefit to Peace Energy is regular income for our co-op and community investors. We're open to further discussions for a potential partnership with the city. While we're doing this, we also thought there's going to be some marketing needed. So as part of a community engagement and education, we recommend developing a marketing campaign that would include a city local variation, such as Solarized Dawson Creek banner. Don?
Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so let's review our 4 recommended actions. These are all like one big ask where we're just asking to continue with the work we're already doing, but we've broken it down into 4 focus areas for discussion today. And we could supply some estimates today too, what each of these 4 things might cost the city to carry on with this research, to come to, basically we'd be heading then for, I guess, get each of these ready for funding or implementation, and then the next phase, that next phase would also, like, if there was a grant application possible, we'd get the information we needed for that grant application, working with the city grant writer. We could supply the information needed for that grant writing. But so there's a step for each of these 4 asks that would bring us to, I guess, next year's budget considerations this fall. So that's what we're asking for in each of these. We have some time now for question and answer on each of these. I would suggest we just go through them one at a time. If that seems reasonable, I will read one out and then field questions, or how do you feel about that?
I think that's okay, Don. I think council can ask questions and we can kind of just see how it goes.
Yeah, we have some time to dig into each of these a bit. So I'll just read out one. So number 1, Continue our work to finalize a 2-year solarized Dawson Creek plan for the 12 suggested municipal locations that Greg just detailed, went through the 12. These findings would be presented to Council in August for the 2025 budget discussions. So we would get them to the point, right now these are, what we would suggest the city move towards, that they would provide the best return on the investment. That's what Greg's been working on. But if you have any questions about any of those locations or the savings involved, et cetera, or how net zero works or anything at all, we're here to answer questions.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you both, and Lukas as well, for being here today to present, and for all the effort that went into putting this together. So it's much appreciated, and so thank you. I'll open it up to council first. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you both for coming. It's good to see you. So one thing, if you've been keeping an eye on the work we've been doing on council here for the last, I guess, this term, our strategic priorities have been something we've been particularly interested in seeing come to fruition this term. And one of those things is the development of a tangible asset management plan. We're now mandated to do it by the provincial government, but also it's something that is long overdue and hopefully allow us to make some informed decision about how we maintain, how we upkeep, how we replace our buildings. We're due to have that, I believe, at the beginning of next year, and Kevin can correct me if I'm mistaken.
Through Your Worship, we will be bringing the findings of that asset management sooner.
Sooner?
Yeah, so the plan would be to have something in front of council to review prior to budget.
Okay. So that is one thing, is with respect to a 2-year time horizon you've proposed, is how does this dovetail with the city's tangible capital asset management plan? I can't recall the 12 buildings off the top of my head, but some of those are going to be near the end of their life cycle and looking at replacement. So it might be more prudent, if we are going to pursue solar, to look at, placing them as the building is replaced. But building off that question, when you design, when you build, when you install a solar array, I forget, last time you were in here, you quoted the life cycle of these amenities, but it's in the decades.
Yeah.
If we end up replacing a building, how difficult, costly, doable is it to retrofit an existing solar array and either place it somewhere else or put it on a new building so we're not having to reinvest from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, either of those would be possible. A new building would, you would remove it, put it onto the new building. There'd be the cost of that removal and reinstall. Like you say, the panels are going to be good for a very long time. Another option would be to repurpose them somewhere else instead. Okay. We did 12 buildings, but there are actually quite a number of other buildings that we can also look at as well, or locations. But we're just trying to find the best ones right now at this moment. So
no, absolutely, and just without having that tangible asset management plan and knowing where those buildings are in their life cycle, it's hard to know where we would get the most bang for our buck if we were to pursue that in increments. That's, I guess, top of my head, that's what came to mind now. I might have one or two more in a bit, but I'll turn the floor over to my colleagues because I see they have some questions.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. What does winter maintenance look like?
Winter maintenance is really not needed. We design the systems based on the annual energy production. So when we look at winter, the snow sitting on them doesn't really matter because we're not losing a lot of energy through the winter anyway. Usually they're exposed for at least a period of time, and if they're covered the entire winter, it would be a very small percent of the overall annual production that would be lost. One consideration might be if we had a winter where there was like 4 feet of snow that just wouldn't clear off, what we do in that case. That's a very rare event, but if it did happen, there are ways to clear the snow without having to walk on the arrays.
Okay. And are they strong enough to be handled at -40? They're not that fragile at -40 to cracks, or
You wouldn't want to handle them per se as far as like being on them, or they're like anything, they're going to be more fragile in cold temperatures. But I think if they were covered with a lot of snow, that would be. Sorry, I can't foresee an instance where you would be up there in cold temperatures working on them.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you were removing snow, that would be at more temperate temperatures, I would think.
Okay. And right near the end of your presentation, you mentioned that the proposed community hub in the NAR park would be strong enough to power the art gallery, everything in there, so that would remove the art gallery from your 1 of 12 chosen spots if we went with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The roof area on that, depending on the size of the final the consultation with the public as far as what size that building would be. But there's a lot of space available on that building, and potentially an EV charging area over the new DC fast chargers going in by the highway. So based on those, they would easily cover the energy use of that whole complex.
And are the BC fast chargers absolute? Are they going there no matter what? Yes?
We're pretty sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just another note about solar in winter and snow. The Peace region gets 90% of its energy in the spring, summer, and fall.
Right.
And only 10% in the winter. We design these net zero systems so that we get a little bit extra. We make a little bit extra in the summer when we've got so much solar. And that is because we're connected to the grid through the net metering program. We build up a little bit of a credit through the spring, summer, and fall on that account.
Right.
And then we use up that credit in the winter. So we don't, with a net zero system that we designed them here for this region, we don't have to generate any electricity in the winter. We don't care if our solar arrays get covered up with snow. We have that credit to burn through in the winter or at night when you need electricity from the sun and the sun's not shining.
Yeah, the reason I asked about the maintenance, you mentioned monitoring, right? And if I was curious if during your monitoring something happens with the grid, say a wire snaps at -40, etc., what it looks like for us to go out there and fix and replace then, or if there's the need.
Yeah, I mean, we have, if you identify any problems in the winter, you would look at it and decide if it's something that's needed right now or if it can wait until spring when the weather's better. Usually that would probably be more of an inverter issue, which is down in the warm space. That you can work on that.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Parslow?
Well, thanks for your presentation. It's totally excites me. Ticks off so many boxes as well in the city's planning. So 11 of the 12 buildings that were identified would either become, or the facilities that they're supporting would become net zero or significantly reduce the cost. The big one, the multiplex, that one I think we need to talk a little more about. I think the others are straightforward, and when you extrapolate the increased costs of hydro, the payback period's about 14 years, and savings over a long time. But that's a simple concept for me to understand. The multiplex, there was a different term you used, and it escapes me. What was that term again?
Load displacement.
Load displacement. Now that's, am I right in saying in Hudson's Hope they have an arrangement whereby some of their excess electricity is used to energize streetlights? Is this concept for the multiplex? We wouldn't be able to use all the electricity on site, but we would be able to possibly, with BC Hydro's cooperation, use that energy for such things as streetlights. Is that what is involved?
I should clarify that a little bit more. So there's a couple of things there. With Hudson's Hope, when extra power is produced, you get a credit on your account. and that carries over month to month, and you use up that account through the winter. If there's extra credits remaining in March, they actually pay you out for those credits remaining in March. We have a couple of systems in Hudson's Hope that create far too much power because of the way things happen initially. So BC Hydro has allowed those dollar credits to be transferred to other accounts.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So it's not a direct like kilowatt to kilowatt transfer, it's a dollar account. And that, I can't get a clear answer from them if that's allowed or if they're just kind of doing that. So I haven't proposed that for Dawson Creek to oversize one to transfer to another, although it may be possible. But because it's BC Hydro, I don't want to speak on their behalf. So then the next thing is load displacement. Load displacement is producing too much energy for the net meter program, which is that 100 kilowatts maximum. So 1 megawatt is 1,000 kilowatts. So what we would have to do with a place like the South Peace Multiplex, we would look at the energy curve use on a daily basis, hour by hour, for the entire year. And then we would compare that to the energy production curve of our proposed solar, hour by hour for the entire year, day by day, and see where it matches. Because if you're producing a lot of power that's extra that has to be used in that facility right then and can't save it up for another day, if your use curve is used more at night, then the production doesn't match the use. So what we would have to do is look at the use and production curves and try and get them to match so that we're investing the correct amount in a system that's actually going to work and give you the best value. Does that answer your question?
A little confusing, but it's a
no. I
special
can understand that, but the possibility does exist, though, that with some talking to the right people, we could also have a transference of some of the funds to such things as streetlights.
I wouldn't want to comment on that because that's a BC Hydro
decision, but they did it for one. They might do it for us.
Mm-hmm. I have asked them about that, and yeah.
Thanks,
Greg, if I could make a comment. One thing that I've come to understand, the difference between net metering and load displacement. If I understand correctly, net metering, the energy gets fed back into the grid, it turns the dial backwards. And then there is a mathematical calculation done around your use versus your production, and either you pay or you get money back. But the energy is leaving the site and going into the grid and getting fed into the general overall hydro grid. With load metering, the energy is not leaving the site. The energy is all being used on site on an immediate basis, and it's not really going through the meter at all. And therefore, there isn't really a relationship happening with BC Hydro. It's all within the facility itself. Am I correct in that understanding?
That's correct on the load displacement side, yes. Yeah, it's not actually going back to the grid. It's all being used on site, or it's just not being used at all. And that's why we want to make sure we match the load to
when it's
the multiplex uses a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
Right. Like much more than BC Hydro would normally allow, which is that 100 kilowatt. We're going to have to put on at least 5 or 10 times that to make a really good dent in that very huge electrical bill the city's paying for that facility. But we can do it. It's just the study would be required to find out exactly what size we can put on there. Some engineering, some structural engineering would be in part of that study to make sure it can take the loads, etc., of course. But we can certainly reduce it. But that study is required to decide just how big that array can be on that roof and how much it would cost and what the total financial benefits would be. But there's no question we can get that $200,000 a year electrical bill way, way down. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Parcel. Councillor Apolonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you very much, Mr. Don, and of course, Greg, for the presentation. I know you had put a lot of work on this one and good presentation. I have only actually several questions because of my ignorance, maybe. So on page 5, 12, the total cost is less than $2 million for over 2 years. Does that cover everything, like the 12 solar options?
That's for those 12 estimated systems and the estimated cost to install them. And I always try and go on the conservative side. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that wouldn't be, $3 million. It should actually hopefully be less.
So you're saying like the average simple payback is like 14 years. So you're saying that the city will get that cost in 14 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we use the term, cost recovery, but the system's going to, in 14 years, you're going to have recovered as much as you invested in the system, but it's going to keep making power for a long time after that. Yeah.
So you're saying, so how many years it will be the solar?
Oh, it's probably going to last 30 years or more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I'm just only doing the math, of course, because it's like taking financial,
Yeah.
So I have another question. Why is the City Hall not included on the options, like the sites?
There's a number of sites, that are potential sites for various reasons, and one of the factors is the cost of power that you pay for right now. So if we install a system and it costs the same to install it, where you're paying 12.5 cents per kilowatt hour, you're paying 9 cents per kilowatt hour, the better investment is the one that costs more offset. So there's different situations like that. The three buildings here, the RCMP, the City Hall, the Fire Hall, are all connected to the same meter. So we would have to have a separate array on each roof area. The roof areas are okay for solar, but not the best because of the way they're laid out with things on the roof and their elevations and things.
Yeah, I just only put it down because, of course, since we're doing solarized Dawson Creek, I think it's much better to start with the City Hall. So at least City Hall is it's like the main building of the city. So if the solar starts there, so at least somehow, that's why I'm saying why it's not on the 12 options.
And that's definitely, for discussion with council and staff to define the plan. We use certain criteria when we were deciding this, but council and staff may have other criteria to focus on as well. And I think, one of the other mentions we had was the EV or public space coverage. Mm-hmm. That would be a great one just outside of City Hall here as an EV charger, or on the grassy area for staff or public as well. That'd be very public then, because you could actually see it. We're up on the roof, nobody would even see it.
And of course, on the location for example, on the NAR Park, which is awesome because I think you're building a community hub. Is that right? For me, for example, if I'm from Dawson Creek, or maybe I'm a tourist from Dawson Creek, I'm not sure if I'm just only meticulous or picky. It's kind of obstruct the art gallery, because if I'm the tourist, normally people get pictures from that, and I think it's on the middle of the NAR Park, or it's on the side of the art gallery.
I think this is a question for Lukas. Answer.
Because I see on the layout, it's like on the middle of the NAR Park, where...
These are very conceptual drawings.
Okay, so...
Yeah, where it would actually be located, we'd have to find out through that public consultation process that we're asking as a next step on this project.
I'm just only saying...
We would look carefully at where to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
This is right now very conceptual.
Okay.
It might look like this, it might be here, it might be this big. We don't know. We have to... Just trying to inspire everybody to say there's a possibility here that's very exciting. Mm-hmm. What it's going to actually end up to be, we'll find out as we do the public consultation process, talk to the people, talk to the engineers, talk to city staff, and figure out exactly where to put it, what it would look like, and what it would be for.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Yeah. And of course, I think last question. So maintenance, for example, are the city staff will be educated or be trained regarding keeping up the solar or something, or are we going to hire additional contractor for this, which will be additional burden for the city? So I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
So I think the biggest thing with maintenance is making sure there's not a lot of maintenance to do on them in general. Very little on the roof, and even the inverters and that tend to just, they run, they keep going, they have a good warranty. So the majority of the maintenance is actually doing the monitoring, making sure somebody's monitoring the rays, making sure they are working as expected, and if any issues are found, then organizing what's needed to fix that. So the main part of the monitoring, like I said, for Hudson's Hope, we do that. We monitor their rays to make sure they're operating properly. If not, then we get the equipment coming that's needed to replace that and arrange the crew if they need to go on site. So we could either train city staff to do that, and we did actually train some of the public workers at Hudson's Hope, or you could hire as a contract like Peace Energy Cooperative for that work.
Yeah, just to reiterate that solar is a very low maintenance technology. The warranties, panels are 25-year warranties on the solar panels, 25-year warranties on the inverters. So all the basic infrastructure is very well warranted because they last so long and require so little maintenance. What we do for Hudson Tope costs them, I think we mentioned that in the presentation, about $5,000 a year to monitor remotely and keep their systems all working at top notch, and they save about $70,000. So they invest $5,000 every year and get back $70,000 on electrical bills saved. That's energy saved. So they're very happy, and we do that for them from Dawson Creek. Each spring we send out a crew. We look through everything, check all the wires, check everything on site. If there's a little bit of maintenance to do, we do it there, then we come back. It'd be super easy to do it here because we live here. But we do monitor every solar panel remotely electronically. And we can see it on our screens in our office in Dawson Creek, all the arrays, and what every solar panel is doing in real time. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to monitor these new systems. They're all connected to the internet, all the solar panels talk to the internet, and we can see what they're doing. And all that data is collected too. So we know every month, every year, how much power you're generating and how much money you're saving.
Thank you, because I know that city of Dawson Creek has lots of sun, even in winter, so...
We have the second best solar resource in the province.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Your Worship.
Thanks, Councillor Apolonio. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Excuse me, I don't know much about it, but BC Hydro's call for power and their desire for micro power producers. We talked about a large low displacement system on the multiplex, but only using about a third of the roof space of the multiplex, and trying to figure out how we work in getting our money back from BC Hydro. Is that any possibility at all for us to be able to answer that call for power and have a true revenue generator for the city?
Good question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, it's in flux. BC Hydro is changing things a bit. Net metering, it looks they're going to leave it pretty well alone. And they seem to be encouraging, from what we can tell, large municipal arrays. So something like the multiplex might just fit into their new paradigm that they're coming up with here. But we don't know. Everybody, it's up in the air right now. But it looks promising that something like the multiplex could become something very special for Dawson Creek. But we don't know at the moment. We're just going with the way things have been for the last little while when we're talking about this low displacement study that we'd have to do. That's just normal. We would do that normally. But we'll certainly be watching what BC Hydro does very carefully. And they may be providing some incentives for exactly what we're talking about on the multiplex as well. So we'll be looking for that because they want large solar.
Yes.
That's what they really want to push. They want big wind and they want big solar. So the multiplex would be a couple megawatts. That's big solar.
Right.
Oh, yeah. On one building, that's huge. So that could be a tremendous opportunity for Dawson. That's part of the study that we're asking you to fund over the next few months. This will all be coming clear with Hydro, we hope. And we'll be doing our low displacement study for the multiplex and have a look at the structural engineering of the building and make sure it can handle the loads, etc. We'll be looking at all that this summer. So by the time the budget comes up next fall, we would be ready to say, okay, this is what we can do here. And this is the benefits to the city to do so.
Just maximizing our usage of that 90% of the sun we receive each year, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's something to be studied there for sure, and could be a great opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. And it's very good to bring that up because it is in flux, but it all looks actually good.
Right.
Yeah, they want more solar and wind power. They do.
Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we'll be into that whole scene too. If Dawson Creek moves ahead with some of this, we'll be part of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. I had a couple questions. I just want to thank you for putting all this information together. I know I already said that, but I'm definitely a numbers person, and I think our first meeting started off talking about this, and then it went in some different directions. So this is nice just to see this stuff, to really understand it, and just look at the numbers, right? There's a lot of information that's come our way, not just today and then last time we met as well, but there's a lot to digest. Just a couple questions with these numbers here, Greg. So this is 879 kWdc
kilowatts, yeah.
Kilowatts. So I thought, what's Hudson Hope's? What's the size there?
507, I believe, just right around 500.
Just about 500 kilowatts, yeah.
And they're saving 70,000 annually.
Yeah, so it depends on which accounts you're covering.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's we've got some room on the Calvin Kruk Center for putting about 100 kilowatts of solar. And that would be another great location because it's high profile. But again, you can't see the solar, but it's going to displace the running costs. But the cost of power there is lower than some of these other locations. So investing that same amount of money is going to give you a different return depending on the location.
Yeah, the thing is, I guess, is that how many is it, 70 odd accounts that the city has?
Yeah, a lot of them are lighting accounts, but yeah.
Yeah, but each of those accounts, the city pays different rates for that power. Which is kind of surprising. I think it'd all be just one rate for a city or something, but no. Each of those little accounts pays a different rate. So part of our decision-making process in picking the 12 best is to look at the rates that you're paying. We want to displace the rates that you pay that are high. So if you're paying 12, 14 cents a kilowatt hour, that becomes a priority place to put solar. Because now we're saving that amount of money, right? Because you're paying quite a bit for that power. So we're going to replace that power with solar so you don't have to pay for it anymore. So that's part of the decision-making process that Greg has been going through, looking at all those accounts, looking at everything you pay, how much you use them every year, etc. How much is each one costing you? Now let's pick the ones that cost the most and put the solar on those.
And have the best solar capacity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't want to just do a few solar panels. We want to do as large as we can on the highest cost.
While you're at it, it's good to make them as big as you can, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate all this information. I think really at the end of the day, I mean, we as a council need to have some dialogue around in which directions. I mean, there's multiple different directions here, right? There's putting it on infrastructure, getting a return on our investment. There's building a hub. There's decorative stuff. There's different areas. We need to have that discussion, because I mean, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Did you, Your Worship, would you like to discuss more about the third item on our list here? We've gone through the first two in some detail now, but we haven't had a chance to look at any questions you might have about a continuing feasibility study, public consultation process for this community hub concept. Do you have any specific questions around that idea? The one that Lukas has brought forward and shown you some rough idea, conceptual drawings of what it might be and what it might look like?
Well, not so much a question as a note insofar as we have had some preliminary conversations around a community hub, which was, the initial proposed site was, we've gotten some public feedback around that. The solar piece wasn't the feature, but certainly not excluded in any way. I'm not sure where we are in those conversations, but we are doing some work around a hub. I doubt the location in NAR Park or the next to the traffic circle was not something that there seemed to be a lot of appetite for. Certainly not plunked directly in the middle of the parking lot. But, we are having that conversation. And I think there's, people have cited Kin Park as a potential location, as that complements a lot of the existing amenities we're investing in around there with the pickleball courts and the new playgrounds and so on and so forth. So we are having a conversation around a community hub. And I don't imagine a solar component to that would be beyond beyond discussion. I think that would fit very well based on where we are, but it still is in preliminary stages, so it might be worthwhile to touch base with Kevin or somebody in planning just to get the details around that and see kind of what feedback we've already been provided from the community. I think, the solar piece is obvious, something that can be included. I don't know if the location is, based on the feedback we've gotten, a likely scenario, but I don't want to preempt anything until we've completed that feedback. But there is some of that work has been done, for what it's worth, and it would be probably a good idea to touch base with Kevin about where we are in that conversation.
Thanks, Councillor Earl.
Yeah, well, that would certainly be part of the process where we would be doing a feasibility study. Would include, of course, finding out what you've already done and then carrying on with more public consultation to move the project forward in a timely fashion. And then come up with, the engineering that's needed and a rough design, et cetera, and nail down the price. I think that's where Lukas would shine, and we would be using his services to conduct that feasibility study in town. And that would be what that's part of our ask, to continue with that research, engage the city more, find out what has been done, and then try to find a good location for this, and nail down what would be included in it, etc. Where, what, how much. We'd want all that. But we need to do, actually, a feasibility study to make that concrete, not just some ideas that are floating around.
Yeah.
We'd like to make that into a proposal that we could then move forward with. And we're pretty sure there's some pretty big grants available for this idea. And we'd be preparing the information needed to apply for those grants. That would be where we would be headed with our study, if you decide to fund that study with us.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused here. So, question to staff: What dialogue has happened around Community Hub? I'm not aware of that.
So, through your worship, the discussion of the hub started with originally looking at an outdoor ice surface. A couple of years ago, there was talk about that. It shifted away from that. Council then directed staff to look at splash parks with the mindset that could possibly become some form of a hub, a recreational hub. As Councillor Earl indicated, the idea of a hub is linking multiple uses together in one area. So we've been out to the public talking specifically about the splash park. We've engaged a number of people through a survey around locations, amenities, and things like that. And, the feedback that we're getting through there is that having that common area, like Kin Park, that has the pickleball, has playgrounds, tennis courts, basketball coming, and maybe tying that in with future washroom facilities and stuff was kind of where it was coming from, that lens of the hub.
Yeah. Just splash park I was aware of, right? This to me is different. I was at the farmers market this Saturday, and it was delightful to see how that's growing. I mean, it's just reflects what I've heard from the farmers market group. So they're delighted with the what's happening right now from the point of view of where they're at. It's a very good location. But all this request is that there be a study around the sort of a cultural hub, etc., as per your presentation. I was just a little confused about what was being said, but after staff's comments, I know, there's been a lot of questionnaires around a splash park and stuff. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Any other discussions? I think, I don't know Nobody's got any more discussion. I think it's definitely something that needs to come back to council. We'll have the discussion about all of it, where we see it, and just give some direction on exactly. I don't, like, if nobody has any more questions, there's no,
Okay. Yep.
I think we're,
So through your worship, sorry, just for clarity, just to assist council in that discussion, I just, maybe we can clarify. Listening to the presentation, there was a couple of things. There's some that, the capital costs, obviously that's a budget discussion for 25 and beyond. But there was talk about studies and whatnot, and one was being for the hub. I think we should clarify, just so council has that, what that dollar amount is, if they wanted to proceed. And number two was the study for the multiplex, because I think, again, that sounded like something they wanted to do or would propose to do in the near term. Understanding what that cost potentially could be, again, just council has all the information. I just didn't see those particular numbers in the report, so I thought it was worth asking.
I guess just when I think that one study on the hub was at around 32,000. Was that the dollar value?
Yes.
Okay. Kevin, I guess.
And if I could, I'll just comment on that if I could. There's multiple pieces as part of that feasibility study. There's the work that I would do with Peace Energy Cooperative in terms of the engagement and site analysis and working with city staff and deep look at where it should be and what is it and how does it work and who does it serve and what kind of activities does it support. Once we thought that we had some potential location where this could be, if there is enough interest, then there may be some engineering studies that would support, that we would want to do to support the site so that we knew that we were heading in a direction that didn't have something unfeasible. For example, it's very likely this building would need to be sprinklered. We would want a bit of a civil engineering study to ensure that we have fire flow capacity at the location for a dry system within the building. Is the electrical and sanitary capacity locally reasonably approximate to the site so that we don't have to run it too far, things like that. Also, geotechnical is a likely study that would want to happen, and all of those things are relatively low cost. It just sort of initial schematic studies, just to ensure that we haven't started down a road that would surprise us later. And so the overall cost of the and again, we don't have a written mandate from the city at this point to do that feasibility study. So there is a requirement for a bit of a negotiation with city staff and council to understand what how much public engagement they would like to see in terms of determining the building use and functions. And so there's flexibility in those costs. But we could say that it starts at about 30,000, and then adding engineering on top of that might take it up towards 50. But we don't know that we need that engineering yet. The site could be very clearly a slam dunk sort of site. So yeah, that scope would need to be negotiated before signing any kind of contracts for this work with Peace Energy and myself.
Okay.
And I would, if I could, I would make one other comment, which is, I've heard the descriptions of the community hub that may or may not be located in Ken Park, and being from Dawson Creek, very familiar with Ken Park, and I think that all sounds like a very exciting plan in terms of combining those sorts of amenities in one spot. I would just point out the significant difference between those more outdoor style active amenities and what we're proposing as this hub, which is really a more of a 4-season weather protected space that would allow for a wide variety of events, such as the farmers market, such as musical acts, and a whole host of other kind of indoor activities that have been listed in previous presentations provided to the city. So whether or not it should be located in Kin Park, that still actually may make a lot of sense. And part of our feasibility study would be to look at that. I just wanted to point out the kind of difference in type of activity between what had been described and what we're proposing within this building.
Okay. Thanks, Lukas.
Thank you.
So I guess when we come back, so we have just a few things to look at. One, to look forward to do the feasibility study on the hub. Another one on the feasibility study on the event center.
On the which?
On the event center.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're estimating, just so you know, we're just throwing numbers around, roughly $20,000 to do that multiplex study.
Okay, multiplex. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, these are very rough numbers. We're giving you guys an idea. If you want us to quote on these things, we'll certainly look at it more carefully and submit something to the city if you ask us to do so.
Okay. And then I guess the third would be the numbers that you presented in here too, Greg, on the solar to the 12 different.
Yeah, that would be, I guess, the time to consult with staff and make sure that the locations we're looking at are appropriate. And so just whatever consulting time is necessary for that and site visits.
And the tangible asset management plan, we certainly would have to refer to that before we'd be choosing our building. So if that's forthcoming, that would be part of our research, would to include that into our final recommendations.
Yeah, well, and I think on that one, if that was a direction we chose to go, like staff would want to work with you too on all, like maybe it's not those 12, but maybe this is the vision, this is what it is, this makes sense, this doesn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Perfect, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Perfect, so 12 buildings. Okay, well, that's perfect.
I guess, sorry, one other one might be the continuation of the research for the public solar as far as the solar trees and EV charging spaces. That's another kind of separate ask to, if that too would be, I guess that would be under the consultation with staff and council, where things might go and what they might look like. So.
Yeah, we were originally, at the very beginning of this whole process about a year ago, we were specifically asked to look at that. And I thought that was super innovative and rather bold of the city to say, okay, let's make solar present, not just hide it up on a bunch of roofs to make some money with, or save some money with. Let's actually do something that's really cool and will attract attention. So that's why we got into the solar trees, and we're thinking of the new charging stations that are going in near the EV fast charging stations going in near the NER Park. Cover that with solar too, which is often done. It gives shelter, produces a lot of electricity, and looks really cool, right? So these are the kinds of things we were thinking of that would really, bring Dawson Creek up into this renewable energy, climate change future that we're dealing with, and make a visible statement that we're a very progressive, forward-thinking community. Yeah. So we were asked to do that. That's why we're bringing up solar trees and canopies.
It's come a long way in a year.
Yeah,
a long way.
So if you want us to continue with that, you got to tell us to keep going ahead with that too, and give us a little bit of money to do it with. That's all. So
a few minutes. Okay, Councillor Parslow.
Well, just add to that Councillor McDonald's question and mate money.
Yeah.
It is in addition to saving money and promoting solar, the questions that Councillor McDonald, the opportunities. So there's a third ingredient in my mind.
And that's why we threw in a slide about how we might want to partner with the city. Peace Energy Cooperative invests in solar too. We might want to. You'll see how this whole BC Hydro thing comes out, because they want big solar. Well, we want big solar. Maybe the city wants big solar and can make some money with it too. So we'd be interested in possibly partnering with the city on some big solar too. When we see what BC Hydro is offering, we'll see what they're coming up with.
To see once that.
Yeah, we'll know in a few months a lot about what they're planning. But this is part of what we're proposing, is that you keep us on tab here, and specifically around the multiplex.
Yeah.
Because it has the big roof where we can put a lot of solar and get that big, huge electrical bill you've got there down, way down too.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you guys very much. Thanks, Lukas. I'm going to call a 5-minute break.
So while we can...
Their council meeting for Monday, June 10th, 2024, back to order. Next order of business, just going to vary the agenda and go to 3. 3 is the 2024 strategic priorities. 3.1 and 3.2, just staff updates. February 26th, April 29th. Was there anything new, Kevin? No? No, any comments on the strategic priorities? No? Okay. Next 4, late items. No late items. 5, new councillor business. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to send out our congratulations to the community of Chetwynd and the International Chetwynd Chainsaw Carving Competition hosted this past weekend. Had the pleasure to hang out with carvers on Wednesday evening, and just listening to them speak about what a world-class event Chetwynd is hosting and bringing to our region is just outstanding. These amazing artists from all over the world talk about Chetwynd being the #1 carving competition in the world that they all strive to attend. And I just wanted to send out our congratulations to their organizing committee. Chris Larson is the president, Vicky Embry is the vice president, and their whole board. And what an amazing, successful, truly wonderful event they're hosting there and bringing to our region. It truly is world class. Huge congratulations to them. Thank you to all their sponsors and volunteers and everyone who was a part of bringing that to Chetwynd and our region. We are a region, so congratulations to them all, and big thanks.
Great. Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to congratulate the organizers and many people and organizations that contributed to the Peace Arts Festival this last weekend. It was kind of an initiative to resurrect a previous event that took place in town, and it spanned not only ourselves here in Dawson Creek, but Rolla, a number of venues, local businesses, mediums, visual arts, film, music, quilting, things of that nature. So first year back in pursuing this, and thank you to the many people who contributed to getting it back on track, and hopefully we can continue to see its growth and success in the years to come.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Apolonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Of course, before this one, I'm just only echoing to Councillor Earl. Thank you very much for the Peace Art Festival. Congratulations for a successful run for coming back for this event, and thank you very much for acknowledging different cultures and organizations which expands our diversity. And of course, going back, I sent a request because normally June is our Filipino Heritage Month, and we requested that normally we do it like the proclamation and flag raising ceremony on June 12. However, because since the proclamation will fall under June 10, so we requested if the flag raising could be done on June 10, which is today. So I will ask the council that council waive section 3B of the flag policy, which states that the Philippine flag for Philippine Independence Day will be on June 12, allowing the flag to be flown on June 10.
Thanks, Councillor Apolonio. Can I get a second? Councillor Earl, any discussion?
Thank you.
Councillor Earl?
You could have shot me a text message and I'd have brought my jersey, Greg.
It was on the agenda.
I know. Okay, thank you.
That's what I abide.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Thanks, Councillor Apolonio. All right. Next order of business 6, adoption of minutes. 6.1, we have minutes of the regular meeting of council with committee of the whole for May 27th, 2024 for adoption. Councillor Earl, second Councillor McDonald. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Any business arising? Next order of business is 8 correspondence. 8.1, we have letter from Joe Judge, Chair, Dawson Creek Rotary Club, Sunrise, received on May 23rd, 2024, regarding the 2024 annual Rotary Fall Fair Parade Route. Kevin, did you want to?
So through your worship, I see this year that they're out of necessity having to change the end location of the parade because of the construction at the college. It's great that it's coming to council, great information, but we can deal with this at a staff level through the special events permit and process and all like that. So there's not really a decision of council, but if there are some concerns based on what you read, then that would feed into it, of course. But I think what they're suggesting is possibly terminating at the Trombley School area. And I think as long as they've got, traffic control and things in place, that would be reasonable.
Okay, so you don't need much there then. Good. Councillor Earl?
Do we need a motion to receive for information?
Yeah.
All right, so moved.
Second, Councillor McDonald. I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 8.2, we have a letter from grant writer, City of Dawson Creek, received on June 10th, 2024, regarding NDIT Recreation Infrastructure Grant application for KBAC Decorative Rock Replacement and Feature Upgrade Project. Councillor Parslow.
Move that the City of Dawson Creek supports the application to the NDIT for KBAC Decorative Rock Replacement and Features Upgrades Project for a grant of up to $100,000.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a second? Councillor McDonald, any discussion? I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 9 reports. 9.1, memo from the corporate officer regarding 2024 UBCM resolution fast tracking international educated, trained, and experienced healthcare workers. Councillor Earl.
I'll move the proposed motion that council authorize the following resolution to the Union of BC Municipalities 2024 convention, whereas the province is currently experiencing a shortage of healthcare workers and there are qualified individuals among international residents who, despite being internationally trained, educated, and experienced, are encountering certification and financial barriers preventing them from joining the healthcare workforce in the province. And whereas the Ministry of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills is responsible for providing leadership and direction for post-secondary education and skills training systems in British Columbia. Therefore, be it resolved that the UBCM urge the Ministry of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills to expedite the credential approval process and provide financial assistance for internationally trained, educated, and experienced healthcare providers to remove the unnecessary credential and financial barriers to integrate them into the provincial health system to help address the shortage.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Second, Councillor Apolonio. Any discussion?
I don't imagine we're going to be the only municipality showing up with a motion in this vein. This is an ongoing challenge across the province that's been observed. And just in general, up here in the north and the south piece, I know immigration has gone up considerably in recent years. And the resources to help people incorporate into communities and be successful who are coming here from all over the world have not kept up with that. I think it was just this last weekend I learned they currently do not have an active ESL program in Chetwynd. And you can imagine people who are coming here from all over the world, how that undermines their ability to find success when they get here. So I think this is something where likely will be redundant and repetitive because it's been asked for successive years that we need to keep advocating for and pushing for because the challenge isn't going anywhere, both with respect to healthcare and both with the needs of immigrant communities for support when they get here.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to voice my thanks to our corporate officer and our executive assistant in writing and creating the resolution. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Parslow.
Yes, obviously I support this, but I just have to make a couple of comments that quite often some of these people who have been trained in their country, they need their English language leaves a lot to be desired, and there are some I've met who are doctors, nurses. Their real challenge is being able to be understood, and so that is also another barrier. So there needs to be training for people available so that they can be understood by fellow professionals and by patients. Right now, language is a barrier for some of them. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Other discussion? No? I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, 9.2, we have report number 24-070 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding outstanding kindness meter donations. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 24-070 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding outstanding kindness meter donations be received. Further, the Council use the kindness meter fund for a future donation request made to Council. Thank you, Councillor Kemp. I have a second.
Councillor McDonald, any discussion? I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 9.3, report number 24-072 from the corporate officer regarding 2024 UBCM convention meeting requests and topics. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move that report 24-072 from the corporate officer be received. Further, that Council direct the executive assistant to submit the UBCM 2024 ministerial meeting requests with the ministers or ministerial staff in the following prioritized order. Honorable Nathan Cullen, Minister of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship. Honorable Mike Farnworth, Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General. The Honorable Lisa Baer, Minister of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills. The Honorable Adrian Dix, Minister of Health, Provincial Government Staff. Honorable Bowen Ma, Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, Provincial Government Staff. Honorable Bruce Ralston, Minister of Forests, Provincial Government Staff. And the Honorable Rakna Singh, Minister of Education and Childcare, Provincial Government Staff. And I apologize if I butchered anybody's name.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Apolonio. Any discussion? Besides a huge thank you to our executive assistant and anybody else that helped put this together. It was not just an easy process. It was a lot of time, so we appreciate that. If there's no other discussion, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 9.4, we have report number 24-073 from the Communications and Engagement Manager regarding city poll banners updates. Poll banners update. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move the report number 24-073 from the Communications and Engagement Manager regarding city poll banners update, which provides Council with an update and next steps in the poll banner project, be received for information.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Kemp. Discussion. Councillor Parslow.
Yes, do we have a budget envelope for this sort of thing? And what is that budget envelope? And what is the word staff engaging, Mr. Bump said, and Treaty 8? What is implied by the word engaging?
So through your worship, I'll start with the engagement pieces. So as we've been working through designs for banners to be inclusive of Treaty 8, that's why we've been engaging with Mr. Bumstead as their as a liaison to that the group of Treaty 8 chiefs. So that's what that is. The budget for the banners we do have this year. Yeah, so we have $94,000 in the allocated in the budget for this year.
So supplementary question then. So engaging means conversations. So then I'm implying that the word engaging means conversations.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So how long do these banners going to last? What has been the experience? It seems to me an awful lot of money for something that, is it going to be for a 5-year period of display or 10 years, or is it a 1-year thing?
So through your worship, the original budget was with anticipation of doing the metal aluminum banners, and they were more expensive. But as you've read in the report, we found that there's some challenges with that, and so we're looking at some alternatives to that. The fabric ones that we're talking about installing are cheaper, considerably cheaper. And as far as longevity, I don't know if anybody can provide me with any insight if they come with an idea of how long they'll last. But I know the ones we've had previously were certainly lasted more than, 5 years. You're probably a 5 to 10 window where you want to start looking at replacing them just from, the aging of the weather.
One last question. Who will own the copyright to these images? Will the city have it? Because I recommend that the copyright be transferred. If we're going to be engaging artists, they may use them for other things, which should therefore mitigate the cost. So I just think the issue of copyright needs to be explored. Sure. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I don't have that information, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Any other discussion? No. All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. All right, next order of business is 10 bylaws 10.1. We have report number 24-067 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Council Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 4584, 2024 for consideration of first 3 readings. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation. That report number 24-067 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Council Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 4584-2024 be received. Further, that Council Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 4584-2024 be given first 3 readings.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a second? Councillor McDonald? Any discussion? Did you want to give a brief overview on this, or is everybody's pretty clear with committee of the whole? And yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you, through your worship. So our Deputy Corporate Officer, Janice, wrote this report, and we're proposing changes, simple changes to definitions. We're proposing changes to electronic meetings, allowing electronic meetings for all types of meetings. So we took some sections out that weren't needed because we provided authorization for all of them. We're also going to use Committee of the Whole as a separate meeting. So if Council wishes to enter into the Committee of the Whole, it will be like a separate meeting, special meeting, closed meeting, same process where you would just recess to go into Committee of the Whole for discussions on bigger items. No voting would be taking place. It would just be a time where Council can have robust discussions on specific items that need it. And also Committee of the Whole was scheduled for every other meeting, every second meeting of the month. And so we've just provided an opportunity to have them whenever Council so wishes to have them. And some of the meetings We were using them as staff updates, where now we'll put the staff updates on the consent calendar. And if council would like to discuss a specific report with staff, they would just simply lift it from the consent calendar and have that discussion. And we'll have our staff sergeant come as a delegation. And the time frame will not be restricted for the staff sergeant to have those discussions, as other delegations have a restricted time frame.
Perfect. Thank you for the update and for doing the work for this. So, Councillor Parslow.
So I'm contemplating moving that we go into the committee of the whole to discuss this report. Is that a correct procedure?
Yes, that is correct.
So that's quite a change, isn't it?
Yes.
I like the change.
Well, thank you, Councillor Parslow.
So I like to discuss things in depth, as you know, right? So
we
does that motion have to be? So it has to be seconded and passed by a majority of council?
That is correct.
I see. So I just want one. So I like that. That's good. Now there's one question I've got under Section 2 definitions. And it's the last sentence in the report here. Staff is also recommending the addition of a definition of meeting to cover all varieties of meetings by council to consider the city's business. So, I'm thinking if I'm at UBCM and my colleague, Councillor MacDonald, has just been to a presentation and 4 of us gather to listen, does that constitute a meeting? Because it's to do with something to do with the city. There's 4 of us at UBCM. The mayor's not there. He's hobnobbing with the minister about water supply to the community.
Hobnobbing.
And so tell me a little more about that, because I've often been accused of a variety of things. If we don't have the corporate officer there, I thought the meeting was not a valid meeting. Is that correct?
So, through your worship to Councillor Parslow, there's a few questions in that one question you posed. To start with, the definition of a meeting, as so posed in the council procedure bylaw, is that would not include a meeting at UBCM. So, meetings that fall under the council procedure bylaw that are generalized as a meeting in the language within the council procedure bylaw. To answer your other question regarding the UBCM meeting that you guys have conducted illegally, if you have quorum, that is...
Hold on, point of order.
If you have quorum...
That was an imaginary possibility. I mean, I can assure you there's all sorts of meetings that occur in cars and stuff, but go ahead.
So if, through your worship to Councillor Parslow's question, you do not need a corporate officer to have a legal meeting. If you have quorum, it could be considered as a legal meeting. Therefore, you should not be doing that. And I believe there was a third question, but now I've forgot what that was.
Something about the mayor hobnobbing.
Yeah, I didn't take notes on that one, so we will just let that one go. Thank you. I guess one other thing just on this report, maybe just to council. I know it would have been probably a year and a half ago, right when we started here, we talked about committee of the whole and staff reports being quarterly. And I know there was, at the beginning, everybody appreciated that just to bring everybody up to speed and knowledge. So I guess that's something we could revisit now as well, because, whether we continue to do that quarterly or we just do it upon request, or even quarterly, we could be asked which ones we'd like to see. I don't know what the best procedure is, but I know it's a lot of work. how much work goes in, and I'm not saying that it's not worth doing it, because if we're reading it and it's valuable information, then it's worth it. But it's a substantial amount of work for each department to give a quarterly update. So I don't know what council feels like, if that's something we continue to want to see, or if it's something we just want to see upon requests, and we can have those requests to Kevin and then he can get them together in a timely manner. But I just thought it was something that would be a good time to talk about it. So, Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate the quarterly reports. There's nothing worse than you don't know what you don't know. So if we're at least getting the quarterly reports, and I do truly respect the time and effort that goes into it, but it definitely helps us in making knowledgeable decisions and asking appropriate questions of our amazing staff. It is easy to not have the ability to request a report because you just don't know, right? You just assume things are going along smoothly and beautifully, but if we are not in the know, we can't know what to ask.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I guess through you to staff, a question I'd like to pose to Kevin. The information we get in the quarterly report presumably comes across your desk periodically as you oversee these various departments. How much of the information that's making it into the quarterly report is redundant and would be in there anyway, just as they're compiling it for your sake, and how much is above and beyond what you'd normally get and is being done? I mean, the formatting is obviously for our benefit, right, but the raw information itself is something you're going to be privy to anyway, right?
Yeah. So through your worship, I think there's a little bit of both there. Yeah, I'm privy to some of it, but the committee of the whole, or what we'll call department updates moving forward, gets a little more granular in some items. You know, we'll get into specific stats at the pool, and I may not, certainly it's not something that we discuss on a daily basis. So I think from that perspective, it's all good information that, you know, I might not see all the time. I don't think it's wasted effort. I think we just want to make sure that there's value for council. If there is, we're happy to do it. But we didn't want to be doing the work if council was not getting some value. Yeah.
No, I too appreciate the reports. I know, you know, I recently got an email about the paper billing or tax fee, which was a policy passed under previous council to incentivize e-billing or e-invoices. And periodically we would get an update with respect to how the uptake in e-billing is going. And you know, certainly as I respond to those concerns, it's nice to be able to say this is saving the city X amount of dollars a year now. We've got half the town on it, or what have you. So those kinds of things. And once again, you know, it's not the type of thing I want to necessarily bring up under new councillor business and have staff directed to provide me with or go hunting for. But if it's something that's making its way to me on a periodic basis, it's very much appreciated. Similarly with the, you know, recent activity around the drought and the water restrictions, being able to see in a 3-month block what the water usage is, what the recirc sales are. That's all useful and informs those conversations we have out in the community as we, you know, rationalize and justify these decisions to the public. So,
thanks, Councillor Earl. Okay. We will keep it as is. So, perfect. All right. Did I call that motion to vote? Okay. Any other discussion? I will call this. Councillor Parsley, you were done, right? Not to cut. Well,
no.
There we are. Okay, I will call this motion to vote.
Just 3 week draft.
Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, 10.2, we have report number 24-068 from the General Manager of Operations regarding water conservation measures, amendment bylaw number 4585, 2024 for consideration of first 3 readings. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 24-068 from the General Manager of Operations regarding water conservation measures amendment bylaw number 4585-2024 be received. Further, that water conservation measures amendment bylaw number 4585-2024 be given first three readings.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Do I have a second? Councillor McDonald. Just a thank you, Kevin, to Stacy and the team that put this together. I went through the whole bylaw. It's pretty in depth, so it was good just to read through and understand it. And so yeah, just thank you. There was clearly some effort that went into this. So any other discussion? No. All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Oh, I think you might have been too late, but I'll let you go.
No, seriously. I mean, this is a big piece of work in a sense. So, how would you summarize to some people who have talked to me? How would you summarize the changes of this bylaw to a person who's superficially engaged with the city?
Sure. So, through your worship, the major change was probably through the definition of hauling potable water for non-potable purposes, and that was a very broad term that we had used originally when we developed the bylaw a number of years ago, because at that time it was really capturing hauling water for fracking, and that was the intent. Yeah. What we've learned through this most recent time when we put stage 2 restrictions on and we're limiting that water hauling is that there's other businesses out there that haul potable water for non-potable uses, but much smaller amounts of it, as opposed to the big water hauls that are for fracking and those types of uses. So Stacy reached out to some people in industry, some people with the Oil and Gas Commission, or which is now, I guess, the energy regulator, to really understand how maybe the industry's changed. And so we could try and get, more relevant and accurate definitions of the uses. And so we're still looking in stage 2 to limit, obviously, those large water hauls, but through some language changes, allow for some of what would be more of the commercial uses, because, all honesty, what we found is some of these industry partners out there, the amount of water they're using or wanting to haul is similar to what a commercial car wash uses in a month. And we determined, looking at it, that amount was not going to, jeopardize our water supply, and it was probably reasonable at that stage to allow it. So that's really the big use. Still limiting large water hauls for fracking or filling C rings or whatever that might be, but allowing some smaller usage, but might still be classified in industry type use.
Well, I couldn't see how another thing that came up during this recent restriction was addressed, and so it's maybe because there's no change. But we learned that, I don't want to mention the name of the business, but we all know which business it is, where to maintain the infrastructure of that business, they needed a certain amount of water to do mixing and retain the infrastructure. Was that issue considered in this? And if so, how was it considered?
Yeah, so through your worship, the use that they were providing, I guess the service that they were providing out in the industry was hauling water mixed with some chemicals, but it was relatively small amounts. We were talking like 1,500 cubic meters a month. And again, I go back to the similarities to a commercial car wash, which uses, essentially the same, or, what we're still have in the bylaw and what was always intended to was to limit those water hauls that might be 1,000 or 1,500 cubes a day. And that's what we really needed to manage and control. So we've opened it up through or we believe we have, with our definitions, to still allow that smaller industrial type use, but limit the more intensive.
So it begs another question then to me is, how will you know, or is there, did you consider perhaps a process whereby a business might ask for an exemption because of their small monthly amounts? Or is it a matter of just monitoring what's going on at the filling stations?
Yeah. So through your worship, we have the ability to monitor accounts with companies. We can see what their usage is. We have cameras at our fill stations. So we have the ability to if we see obviously our use increase, we're able to look and see who's using large amounts of water. And we can quickly track back and figure that out if that starts to be an issue. I can say right now that since we've, rescinded stage 2 and gone back to stage 1, we have not seen large uptakes in water. Our usage has remained pretty steady from what it was even when we had stage 2 on. That's probably due to the industry just at the moment, maybe just not needing water. Maybe they're okay for a bit, but, subject to change.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. If there's no other discussion, I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. All right, next order of business, 11 Mayor's Business, 11.1 Mayor's Updates. First one, the Business Facade Improvement Program. Just wanted to give a huge shout out to a few, but one to Councillor Parslow, who sat on the NDIT board before myself. And this, not just the business facade, but NDIT is generally not well utilized in northeastern British Columbia. So Councillor Parslow was a huge part in promoting it, moving it forward. So it's been easy for me to step in and to continue what you built. So thank you for that. But back to the Business Facade Improvement Program. I think this is, the first year that I've been involved, but I think it's the first year that we had double the amount of requests for it as per. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Stuart from the Chamber of Commerce. He sits on the committee. Also to our executive assistant, Kathy, because this is just another thing that she spent hours and hours on going through this, especially once we knew that we had too many and we had to downsize it a little bit. We had to go through all the criteria and really dissect each one and kind of score each one. There's a scoring to it, but so yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the community. So we did announce who was successful and who we recommended to apply for next year. We also found some other grants that were offered by other organizations that we passed on to some of them too that could qualify for them. So it was just amazing to see. I think there was like 11 or 12 in total that applied. So it was amazing to see that many businesses in the community investing back into their business. So it was great to see. Saddle Hills visit. Kevin and myself went there last week. We met with the Reeve, Alvin, Deputy Reeve, Kristen, and then the CAO, Carrie. We just went out really just to visit. We've been wanting to for a while, so we went out, just had coffee, just got to meet, get to know them all, and it was so valuable. Like all those meetings we've done, it was really valuable. Just to see their facility, to just listen to them, listen to what they're working on. It was phenomenal. Actually, it was amazing. You don't realize too. You realize that being in Dawson Creek, how many people from the Alberta side support our community. But when you hear it from them, it sure puts it into perspective. The relationship and how important that relationship is. Always, but moving forward. So. Yeah, it was valuable. They're working on a lot of the healthcare stuff. Like they're doing similar things. Like it's I don't want to talk about their story, but that's for them to talk about. But they're very innovative and doing a lot for their residents, and it seemed like it was really amazing. So whether from water to healthcare to all of it, it was really good. And just to get to know them, it was great. So. Also, it was actually the last council meeting. We had a physician welcome at the hospital. So myself and Councillor Sudnick went down and welcomed the two new physicians, said farewell to two of the older physicians that had been here for a while. So we got to thank them and welcome the new ones. But also there was most of the physicians were there. So just to reiterate to them that we appreciate them in our community and what they do for our community. And it was just it was just great to be down there and visit with them, and planning something too where we can more of a council go to too. There's not a lot of room at that facility, so we're looking for in the future to do something a little bit bigger where all of council can go to. So with the Pride flag raising, I was here last week. I think my weeks are a little bit of a blur right now, so is my brain. So, but it was great to raise the flag, and I think it was the first one that I actually got to do fully. I remember we did the Filipino one. I think that was last year we did it, but this one I actually got to pull the flag. It was it was just good, and I think coming out of COVID has allowed a lot of those procedures and the way we do things back to normal. So that was great. Rock the Peace was here 2 weekends ago. I got to stop by there. An amazing event by all the dealerships in our community. It's just amazing to see businesses get together where it's all about just doing what's right for the Peace region and offering something to the Peace region. It wasn't about one dealership benefiting more than the other. It's they clearly all were there, all set up. When I went down there, had coffee with them, they were all, they're all working together, they're all hanging out together. It was just an amazing thing to see that type of relationship, really, in business, that it was that transparent and that working with each other. So just amazing to see, and just a shout out to all of them for putting the Rock the Peace on. So. Also had a tour of the airport. This was a week or two ago. Stacy, I met Stacy out there one morning and got a tour of the whole airport with Ben and Dylan, who work out there. So it was phenomenal, actually. It was extremely educational, but it was nice to get a tour from the team too, because their passion and care for that airport is beyond. Really, it's above and beyond the expectations. So they wear their hearts on their sleeve out there, and they take care of the place. And so it was really nice just to get a whole tour of all of it. We talk a lot about the airport and runways and all that, but just to get out there and actually see it and see all the behind the scenes and the whole part of the grounds and the facility and everything they deal with. It was extremely valuable to myself to have that knowledge. And just, again, I wanted to give a shout out to you, Stacy, for taking the time. But to Ben and Dylan, it was clear to see their passion and care for it, and definitely, they're an asset to the airport. So thank you. Youth Roundtable, we've been doing roundtables every couple months. The youth one a little bit more. It's getting a lot of legs. Our last one was, it was really actually phenomenal. We got to, we hosted it at South Peace Secondary School with their student council. So we sat in a classroom with, there was probably 30 of us, I would think, maybe more. So we had an hour. We probably could have had 10 hours. Everybody, it was really good. But it was just a round table. There was probably about a dozen youth providers in our community that were there. The rest were students. So we really just listened to the students. shared a real brief overview about what we were doing, and then listened to them and just had a lot of dialogue back and forth. So, yeah, it was extremely exciting. It was really looking forward to where this goes moving forward. And with the South Peace Student Council, they did have their elections. They have their new council in for next year. So they're already talking about wanting to come to council with us. So I just said reach out anytime. They're welcome here anytime. So, yeah, really looking forward to where that relationship goes and the potential that it'll bring or could bring. So that was amazing. Any questions for me? Councillor Parslow.
There was a couple of things here. Item 4, the pride flag raising, just prompted me to because I think someone should take initiative and respond to a letter that all council, you and council received, urgent public concern.
Yeah.
And I think rather than each one of us responding, I think it would be something that comes from yourself or the CAO.
Well, anything that comes to myself and council will then come to the agenda, and it'll go through the corporate office. So this agenda was printed previous to that.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
yeah, I'm just saying,
So
just
we'll
as a spin-off from what you just said about the pride flag, I was hoping that is that going to flow, a response going to flow from yourself, or is it something going to come back to the council table?
So through your worship, what we'll do is we'll respond, letting them know it's going to go to the next council meeting agenda.
Okay.
Because I think it would be appropriate.
Yeah, I sent it to you, didn't I?
I did see that, yes.
Okay. Saddle Hills, I appreciated your comments. Saddle Hills, I mean, ever since I've been on council, they've been right there to support the city in all sorts of endeavors, whether it's hockey or the Mile Zero Park, or they're just great. But next time you go out, would you let me know, because I'd like you to visit the lake near their office to tell me the condition of the water for fishing. saves me traveling out. And that goes for you, Kevin, if you could just pop into the lake and tell me what the weed level's like.
I will make note of that.
Valuable information for me.
I will make note of that, Councillor Parslow. Thank you. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship. This might have been better brought up under new Councillor Business, but I thought it dovetailed well with the physician welcome. Now that the news has been made public with respect to the city's purchase of the Elgin Medical Clinic, and they're beginning to do the work of getting it, everybody getting moved in and getting it up, might it be worthwhile to, before it's up and running, host kind of a public information session in there with respect to what the plans are for it? Because I do find, despite there now being the certainty of us owning it and Northern Health leasing it on, there's still a lot of confusion and ambiguity about what the ultimate plan for that facility is. And I think in our efforts to communicate to the public, it might be worthwhile to provide an open house opportunity for them to come by and ask those questions and see what the plans are. Is that something we should explore with our colleagues at Northern Health and the physicians, or?
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be with Northern Health. It's South Peace Healthcare. Yeah, I think as we get further down the road and we determine exactly what that looks like, then we will.
Okay.
So there's a lot to it, but we've had some dialogue. I've had some dialogue with the doctors about having, some meetings, just what it is. But as of to the community now, nothing changes with the facility. We'll officially own it at the end of this month. The doctors that are currently in there will continue the way it is, and as we get more information and we know more information, we'll pass it on.
Okay. Yeah, because I've had everybody I've talked to thinks it's a positive development, but they had a lot of blanks they were looking to have filled in, and I simply don't have that information for them now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else? No. All right. Next, 11.2, the delegation request from Wayne Plenert on the Peacebuilder mediation. Councillor Earl.
I'll move that council provide a letter of support for Mr. Plenert's inquiry or pursuing the matter further. However you want to word that.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Have a second. Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? No? All right. I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Thank you. Next to 11.3, there's been a lot of information we received from the last two presentations from Peace Energy Cooperative, and there's a lot to digest. I also believe that making any decision is a big part of the future of our community in all aspects of what they asked. So I'm going to actually move to deal with this till the next council meeting for a couple reasons. One, to just digest the information. The other is I feel it's right to have all of us sitting at this table on this side to talk about the future. And I mean, if there's a couple smaller questions now, I know that there's been a couple that were coming up to Kevin, what the process would be like if we were to go down that road. So I don't know if Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess two questions top of mind through you to staff. Kevin mentioned earlier that the tangible capital asset management plan would be to us earlier than early next year so that we could have that inform our budget discussions. Do you have a tentative timeline about when we could do it? Because when we're being asked to make 6 or 7 figure decisions, that strikes me as something that would be vital in informing that. Melissa?
Through your worship to Councillor Earl, the plan is for presentation in our August meeting. That is dependent on some of the other later stages that still need to be complete, but that's the goal. So even if that gets pushed back a little bit, that would be the timeline that we're aiming for.
Okay. And second question is, with respect to inquiries about funding studies and, building things and maintaining things, obviously we have a tender policy in place at the city which precludes us from direct awarding contracts in that manner. Peace Energy Co-op has done a tremendous amount of work on this file, and I don't think they've been compensated for it meaningfully, really, in any way. So I hate to point that out, but if this is something we choose to move forward with, presumably we're going to have to put it out to public tender.
So through your worship, just a bit on the process. So obviously we have a procurement policy that we need to follow. I think if this is deferred to the next meeting, and if it's something the council wants to pursue at that time, I think likely it would be good to direct staff to bring back a report that can lay out what that can all look like, i.e. where the funding would come from, whether it's in the immediate or, if it's a 25 thing, the procurement question and what that could look like. And then, lastly is where it fits within the workload and who's managing it and what that looks like. Because right now with our strat priorities, it's pretty, so we would need a bit of time to kind of probably lay that out in a logical manner for council to consider.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow?
Yes, I recognise the need for deferring this to a future meeting. And I was hoping that we would be directing staff to provide a report that addresses the action items in the way that you've sort of alluded to. Not that we just put it on the agenda and we refer back to the presentation and stuff. So I was hoping that there would be a report that provides us with the necessary information to make informed decisions. And that might be 2 weeks might be too short a timeline. You may want it a little later, but it's up to you. Just a comment about, and I respect the intent of the comment because somebody's away. When I heard about the capital asset plan in August, that's a major thing, and I may not be able to be there. But I would I would defer. I mean, that we look how often we're pretty good, this council, 7 out of 7, but things come along where there's 6. I think once there was 4. But the business of council should proceed. I think just a comment. Yeah. I appreciate the intent, and if we can accommodate it, so be it. But not. It's a slippery slope. You know what I mean? Because I can say, for Councillor so-and-so, you deferred the discussion, but heck, I wasn't there, but you didn't. You know what I mean? And what is it? It's just a friendly comment. But I would like to move, if I may, in the spirit of what you said, and that staff be directed to provide a report on the action items and the resourcing and decision points for concerning the solarizing of Dawson Creek and I'm just wondering, looking to you here, Kevin, to help, a July meeting, or is it, or can you do it, do you think, by the end of June?
So just for clarity, we don't have a deferral motion on the floor, do we?
There is no.
No, okay, just want to be clear. So secondly, I think staff will certainly try to bring it back, as reasonably possible, but a future meeting would be a good timeline.
How about a future meeting in 2024? Is that what you wanted?
We can certainly do that.
That would not be acceptable. ASAP?
Do I have a second? Councillor McDonald? Just to add to the comment, I wasn't deferring this because one councillor was away. I get that the business of the city goes on with us sitting here, whether there's 1 or 2 away, it doesn't matter. I just know that this is something that I didn't feel we needed to make an answer today. And,
definitely.
And it could wait. So, yeah, it's a big decision, and it wasn't just about having another person here, because who's to say if everybody will be here on the next council meeting? It was just part of what I said, so I wasn't meaning it that way, but thank you. Any other discussion? Is that pretty clear? Okay, all right, I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. And sorry, Tab, just because we did have a deferred motion from the presentation in April on, do we need to deal with that right now, or can we just?
Through your worship, no, you don't need to deal with it. It just said defer the decision on a feasibility study.
Okay.
And the staff report will most likely deal with that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right. Next, 12, we have the Chief Administrative Officer operational updates. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Good morning. So just a couple quick ones. Water, as always, just give you a quick update. Things at the river are holding steady, which is good. And if you look at the forecast, it looks like we have a great week ahead for anywhere between 20 and 50 millimeters of rain over the next 7 days. So that'd be great if we did. Things are good. We're continuing to top up South Dawson, and our usage has been, like I indicated a bit earlier, has been good. We're under 6,000 cubic meters a day. So we're holding. Everything's, right now, knock on wood, looks good. Secondly, the Memorial Arena project, quick update on that. Things are progressing. We're probably, I think Ryan said, probably maybe a couple weeks behind where we had hoped to be, but nothing, certainly catastrophic. But saying that, we're likely going to still plan to put ice into the Oventive Center as Plan B, because we know that even if the memorial finishes a couple weeks behind, we still have to clean, we still have to commission the HVAC. There's just a number of things that we need to do, and we don't want to get in a spot where we don't have ice and we're rushing and we don't get everything running as it should. So that's the plan, and Ryan will be bringing something, I think, in the next department update that'll probably speak to that a little bit more. But that's in the budget, just so you're aware as well. We had already budgeted for that contingency plan at Oventive. Some of you probably, or maybe all, have noticed that the sticker post sign is up at NER Park. Our city crews fabricated and installed a new sign there. So I took a good look at it Thursday night when I was over there, and looks really good. And I see it's starting to get some stickers on it. So
perfect.
That's good. And lastly, animal control. We had told council that we'd gone out for RFI to see if there was any interest for animal control services. We got no responses. So we will be bringing a report to the next council meeting that will probably give council a couple of options. I think the way it sits right now is we either go back and work with the SPCA or we terminate animal control in the city. The third option is that we were to do it in-house, but if we're looking for a cost-saving exercise, that's not the one we want to entertain, and frankly, it's nothing that I want to entertain either, if at all possible. So that'll be forthcoming. So just wanted to give you a bit of a heads up on that. So any questions?
Thank you, Kevin. Just before there's questions, actually, we had a delegation for 11:45 and it's 11:46. So will it be, it's okay for a few minutes? Okay. Councillor Parslow.
So whilst this putting the ice in is in the budget, what is the budgeted amount? 50,000?
So through your worship, we budgeted about 150, anticipating maybe
150,000.
We budgeted 150 because we anticipated that it could be greater than, a month or two. We didn't at that time know how long we may need it for. So, but I think right now what we're looking at is probably about a month of ice. So it wouldn't utilize the entire budget.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Worship. At a previous meeting, we were advised, I think, that the two new parks were shooting for completion around the end of May. I know there's been some public nuisance
playgrounds
that have delayed that. Do we have an anticipated date we're going to go ahead with it?
I'll let Ryan. He knows.
Through your worship, the Kin Park playground. The slide has been taken off, the damaged slide, and has been shipped for repair. We have blocked that part of the area off. I believe the fencing is coming off today, so people will be able to use that playground. The playground down at Miles Zero Park has some landscaping issues that need to be addressed around the pad, and that's being worked on in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I guess one last note, to thank you to staff for their diligence in trying to bring this to fruition. It's disappointing, I think, from a standpoint of somebody engaged in civics, to see how the best efforts of so many good people in the community are diverted and undermined by a few ne'er-do-wells who seem to not be able to leave well enough alone. But thank you guys for your perseverance, and we look forward to the parks being open.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, I had a couple of questions about the new courts. What is the plan for painting or surfacing the tennis courts?
Through your worship, The phase 2 of the courts, the acrylic for the 2 tennis and the multi-purpose court should be done in mid-July.
Mid-July? Okay. And it was pointed out to me about some damage to the existing pickleball courts, the cracking, et cetera. Do we have a repair plan or?
Through your worship, so we're working through that with the contractor right now. Also with the acrylic coating as well to ensure and have some follow-up with the company that did that as well. So we're just working through those processes at this time.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Apolonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just only saying thanks for the support of the city, especially for the sticker post. Thank you very much for the hardworking city staff who made that beautiful part of a new landmark for our city. Thank you, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Apolonio. Councillor Parslow.
The playground at Mile Zero Park, whose responsibility was it to, let's say, landscape? Was it part of the contractor's responsibilities, or is that the city's?
Through your worship, so the contractor is responsible to do some of it. There's just how the land and the rubber matting sort of meet or don't meet. So that is being taken care of. It's the contractor's responsibility of that. Some of the other areas on the, I'm going to get my orientation wrong, towards the splash park side of it.
Right.
That is not part of the project, but we're looking right now to work with the Milesville Park Society to find a opportunity to enhance the landscaping around that area.
So is the playground going to be usable in the foreseen future?
I would hope so. I think the weather in the next couple of weeks it should be.
Yeah. It should be next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just waiting for some additional quotes for that, so we have a firm understanding of the costs related to.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. I am going to just go through the agenda real quick, and then we'll go to the delegation. So next, we have the diary. Nothing in the diary. Consent calendar. Does anybody want to lift anything? Okay, I get a motion to accept the consent calendar. Councillor Earl, second Councillor Kempf. I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, media questions. No media questions. And then I'm going to go back to item 2.4, Councillor Apolonio and delegation in attendance regarding proclamation to declare June as Filipino Heritage Month in Dawson Creek. So, are you bringing? Okay. Well, I make a motion to get loud. Closed after this. Sorry, I can put that on you.
You'd be amused if
It's funny, my wife got it for me on her Mother's Day trip to the city.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it worked out well for me.
You have to send her on more Mother's Day trips.
Yeah, exactly. Still sitting there. They thought it was a bomb. We didn't know what that was.
It's not a bomb. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Ed.
Solar man.
What I used to say to SA 4 has gone to Hudson. So, oh yeah, we discussed it for
Hello, welcome, morning or afternoon, or you can come right up here if you want. You can come right up here. You can come stand up here. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Unless you don't want to. I don't bite, I don't think. So, how are you? Morning, everyone. We got a few more minutes still. So.
It's still morning.
Yeah. Yeah, like right here is good. So. You can come stand over here if you don't get that light in your eyes. Yeah, if you come stand up here. Hello.
Hi. You have to come straight forward, guys.
Come on.
Come in.
Ladies.
What a reception. What a reception. I feel so shy.
Hello, don't be shy. Hello, how are you? Good, hi. How are you doing? Good, thank you. Good.
We're going to walk in the...
Hello.
Great. Are we going to fit?
More fit, yeah. How many is there lots? More
This is just... No, I think this is it because they're stepping up.
Yeah. Hey, Neil. Hey. All right. Whereas the Filipino associations and societies were first established in 2010 and have evolved into some of the largest, oldest, and most active Filipino groups in the Peace region. Whereas today, Filipino organizations have the primary goal of increasing understanding between Filipino immigrants and Canadian culture, specifically in Dawson Creek. Whereas the spirit of Bayanihan, yeah, what Greg said, or Councillor Apolonio, helping one another to achieve a goal is strong among us, as are the values of fun, culture, and family. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim June 2024 as Filipino Heritage Month in Dawson Creek. So, I don't, when I started seeing everybody come in, the Filipino part of our community is such a huge part of our community. And, you know, what I love most is you're about family, you're about giving back, you're about treating people the way we're intended to treat people. So, you know, as much as this is about you learning the Canadian culture, it's also for us to learn from you as well. And we're all in this together. We're all part of this community, and we make this community an amazing place. So really, I'm honored to be here today, but also in all the events that I've got to be part of in the Filipino community, all of them have been absolutely amazing, and I've always felt so welcome, and I know I speak for all of council on that, and really our city as a whole. So yeah, so congratulations and thank you and welcome everybody for coming here. So this is amazing. So you're welcome. So we'll get a picture here. Do a picture?
Picture.
Can I come down here with you?
Cheese.
Jackie, smile. Jackie, smile.
I'm in the back there.
No, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. I don't know if you want.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be up one second. Well, now we're going to go down. We got like 2 minutes and then we'll come down. So.
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay.
Be down in a moment.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Darcy.
How are you?
Good.
Oh.
I'm bringing
It's only great.
Yeah.
Down in a sec.
All right. Next order of business is just to recess into closed meeting. So 16.1 resolution to move into meeting of council, closed to the public. Agenda items 4.1 and 5.1, section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages. Yep. Councillor McDonald, second. Councillor Earl, any discussion? I will call that motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Thank you.